The soldier's faith, a pastor's daughter's battle between duty and destiny. Grace had always been the picture of a dutiful pastor's daughter, attending church every Sunday, volunteering, and keeping up with her studies. Her father, a respected man of God, had dreams for her. She would follow in the footsteps of the great doctors in their congregation and help heal the sick. But Grace felt a calling that didn't match her father's vision. She wasn't meant to wear a white coat and stethoscope. Instead, she was drawn to the military, a path that would take her far from her faith-driven family. In a story of duty versus destiny, Grace's choice would test not only her faith, but her relationship with her parents. Would she be able to reconcile the two worlds, or would her decision tear apart the foundation of everything she had been taught to believe? The sound of her father's voice still echoed in Grace's mind as she sat in her room, the bag she had packed sitting by the door. "Grace, why?" The words had hit her like a slap in the face, the sting of her father's disbelief piercing through her chest. She had grown up in a house full of love, full of faith, but also full of expectations. She was the only child, the precious gift her parents had prayed for, and the one who was meant to carry on their dreams. Dreams that didn't include bullets, army boots, or war. "Why the military? You know your place, Grace," her father had said, his voice thick with emotion, yet filled with the unspoken command of a man who believed he was in control. "God has given you the gift of healing, not fighting. You're meant to serve him in a different way." But Grace couldn't help the restlessness that pulsed in her heart. For as long as she could remember, she had felt drawn to something more. Medicine was the path her parents had chosen for her, and though she had loved the idea of helping people, there was something in her spirit that longed for something bigger, something more impactful. She had always admired the courage and strength of the soldiers who came to her father's church for prayers. They fought for a cause they believed in, and their bravery touched her deeply. When Grace first joined the youth group in the church, she met a former soldier who would become one of the main catalysts of her decision. His name was David, and he had served in a peacekeeping mission overseas. His stories of duty and service, of being a light in the darkness, resonated with her. "Sometimes," he had said, "fighting for the right cause can bring the most healing." But that idea had never sat well with her parents. "That's not the way we're called to serve, Grace," her mother had often said, her soft voice filled with tenderness. "The Lord calls us to heal, not to take life." Yet, the more she listened to David's words, the more she felt a growing desire to make a difference in the world in a different way. As the years went on, the pull toward the military became undeniable. She couldn't ignore it anymore. She had made her decision, and now it was time to face her parents. Her father's reaction had been nothing short of heartbreaking. "I've invested so much in you, Grace. I've prayed for you, guided you, and now you want to walk away from everything we've worked for? From everything I've taught you?" His voice cracked as he continued, his pain palpable. "You're throwing it all away for some war?" She could see the weight of his disappointment, the confusion and anger battling within him. Grace had tried to explain herself, to make him see her side, but all she could see in his eyes was hurt. She had always been the good daughter, the one who followed the rules. But now, in this moment, she was the one breaking them. "I'm not throwing it all away, Dad," Grace had whispered, her own voice trembling. "I'm just following my calling. I'm doing what I believe is right." Her mother had cried, her hands clasped together in prayer. "Please, Grace, I don't want to lose you. You have so much potential. Your father and I," her voice cracked, "we just want you to be safe." But the more they tried to convince her, the more Grace knew her mind was made up. She had signed up for the military, and the day of her departure was fast approaching. The final night at home was filled with tension. Grace lay awake, staring at the ceiling, her heart torn. She loved her family, but she felt a pull that was stronger than anything she had ever known. Her mother had come to sit with her, placing a gentle hand on her daughter's shoulder. "You'll come back to us, Grace, won't you?" her mother asked softly, her eyes filled with both love and fear. "I will, Mom," Grace promised, even though she wasn't sure what the future held. "I'll always come back." But nothing could have prepared her for the journey that lay ahead. The military life was hard, the training was grueling, and the people she met were unlike anyone she had ever encountered. Boot camp tested her in ways she didn't expect, physically, mentally, and emotionally. Yet, with each passing day, Grace felt herself becoming stronger, more resilient. But she had moments of doubt. She would lie awake at night, staring at the ceiling of her barracks, remembering the warm embrace of her parents, the quiet moments they had shared. She would wonder if she had made the right choice. Could a soldier really be a servant of God? Could she reconcile her desire to serve her country with her faith? The question gnawed at her. One night, the test of her faith came when her unit was deployed on a peacekeeping mission to a country ravaged by civil war. The violence was beyond anything Grace had imagined. The violence had a face, and it was the face of innocent people who had lost everything. In the midst of a firefight, Grace found herself sheltering a group of women and children in a small church, their only sanctuary in a world of chaos. As the fighting intensified, one of the women, a mother holding her child, whispered to Grace, "Please help us. We have nothing left. Our homes are gone." In that moment, Grace realized that this was her calling. Not to wage war, but to protect those who could not protect themselves. She wasn't just a soldier, she was a servant, just like her father had always preached. She was there to offer hope and save lives. When she returned home after her deployment, her father was waiting for her at the airport. Grace felt the lump in her throat as she saw him, his strong frame standing tall, his face a mix of pride and concern. "I was scared for you," her father admitted, his voice thick with emotion as he embraced her. "But I see now you were doing God's work, just not in the way I imagined. You've shown me that faith doesn't just live in church. It's in every part of life, especially in the hardest moments." Grace held her father tightly, the burden of her decision lifting from her shoulders. Her family had accepted her choice, not just because they understood it, but because they could see the growth in her. She had chosen a different path, yes, but in the end, Grace realized that her destiny wasn't about wearing a white coat or a military uniform. It was about being a light in the darkness, a healer of souls, and a protector of those in need. And in that, she had found her true calling.